Have you ever thought about how something as seemingly insignificant as a tree could change the course of history? Well, in 1871, a tree, yes, a tree, became the unexpected hero that ended one of the most bitter territorial disputes in history. Keep listening, because this might just blow your mind. Our story unfolds in a place full of breathtaking beauty, but fraught with tension: the Texas border with Mexico. You see, during the mid-19th century, the Rio Grande, a major river that served as a border, had a nasty habit of shifting its course. These shifts caused chaos, as land that once belonged to one country would suddenly find itself on the other side of the river. This instability came to a head in the 1860s with what became known as the Chamizal Dispute, named after a 600-acre tract of land that kept switching allegiances between Mexico and the US. Both countries claimed it as their own, and tempers flared. Embedded in all this drama was the small but mighty Árbol de la Noche Triste, or the Tree of Sorrow. Growing right in the disputed territory, it stood as a literal symbol of peace, or lack thereof, as conflicts raged around it. Now here's the kicker: neither country wanted to budge, and there was no universal GPS or satellite technology to track the border accurately. Everything boiled down to human-made maps and human error. It became an international sore spot, with families losing homes, farmers losing fertile fields, and governments locking horns over what seemed like an irresolvable problem. Years of negotiations went absolutely nowhere. Meanwhile, as time went on, the Árbol de la Noche Triste stood its ground, unaffected by human politics. However, in 1871, something miraculous happened. A Mexican cartographer named Matias Romero and his American counterpart, William Strong, decided to meet in person under the tree as neutral ground. Until that moment, negotiations took place in stuffy political halls, filled with hostility. But there was something about the open sky, the rustling leaves, and the sheer serenity of being in nature that altered the atmosphere. It sounds unbelievable, but it softened rivalries and reminded both sides of their shared humanity. For hours, they talked under the shade of that old tree. At last, they reached the foundation for a peaceful resolution. This meeting became the turning point, eventually leading to the formal Chamizal Convention in 1963, a century later. This agreement finally gave Mexico rightful ownership of most of the disputed land. Although it took longer than anyone would have liked, it was that tree meeting in 1871 that catalyzed the ultimate agreement. The Árbol de la Noche Triste remains a symbol of diplomacy today, even though the original tree has long since withered away. In its place, a plaque and replanted tree now stand as reminders of a time a humble piece of nature encouraged nations to lay down arms and talk. A single tree, minding its business, stopped a war for land that seemed unsolvable for decades. Isn't that incredible? It's easy to underestimate the quiet magic of the natural world, but history shows that sometimes, even the most unlikely elements can become the hero of the story. What do you think about this part of history? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know if you'd like to hear more about other small things that created massive change. And remember, history is everywhere. You just have to know where to look.